question the choir could never rely on them anyhow. Like this drink I've been aging, I'm holding my breath, thinking the thoughts that lead to the thoughts of somebody else. Race to the bottom, race to the bottom, race to the bottom, race to the bottom again. It's just a race to the bottom, a race to the bottom, a race to the bottom, a race to the bottom again.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I think we had a hiccup. We had some technical issues. Couldn't hear audio. Please let me know if you hear this. We should be good. Hey, Canuck, how's it going?
It's going well. I'm just checking YouTube to see if we're live.
I'm going to turn on the volume on the YouTube and see if we're...
It's going well. I'm just checking YouTube to see if we're right.
Okay, so it is working. I hear it on my end, at least. So let's see. Sounds good to me. Yes, we're in business.
Well, at least until the next lockdown.
Yeah. Well, what do you guys? Do you know something that I don't? Is that it?
I'm just being a smart ass.
Okay, you can share the link if you like. I've changed the name. So, Rock Bottom Part 2. Boomer moment. Okay. So, sorry guys. I guess we got to start all over again, and that's okay because it's kind of review for all of us, right? How you been doing?
Oh, I'm doing well. And yourself?
Pretty good. I guess I'm gonna tell the story, repeat it again. You've heard it, so
Yeah.
The pandemic has caused a lot of issues, right? Like it's caused mental illness, people losing their jobs, and all kinds of stuff. One thing that's not often talked about is the pets that people got during the pandemic because they were bored, so they were alone, and they got a pet. And I think this is the case that happened in my situation because recently we just got a stray dog that followed my daughter home, and we've been looking after her for the past 2.5 days. And we took her to the vets. No chips, no collar. They tried to stiff us. Not stiff us necessarily, but we were offering to pay for the full checkup because we were considering if we could not find the owner. Not sure if we wanted to go give the dog to the owner anyway because they seem to have just abandoned this dog. It's a small Chihuahua. And the condition is pretty good. Like she's, and we were told she's about 2 to 3 years old, so that gives about a good estimate of the owner taking it during the pandemic period. So a lot of these pets, I was told by the vet that they're just getting a lot of them coming in, and people asking, bringing the strays in, and especially toy dogs. Because people just got like, oh, it's too much. I'm back to work. I'm meeting people, so they're just tossing them on the street. And this dog was a bit emaciated when my daughter brought him. We were feeding her dog food. Here's a picture, and let me share the screen again. I know this is a little bit of a review for Canuck because we were going through about 30 minutes of this, but yeah. So that's the doggy, cute little doggy, and I named her. By the way, I didn't tell you this. I named her Dog. I think that's an awesome name, right? So she's from now on will be called Dog. Never had a dog before either, so I'm not too familiar with.
Well, it's only slightly less imaginative than one of my cat's names.
What's your cat's name?
Tibbs.
What? Tits?
Tibbs.
Oh, Tibbs.
T-I-B. Yeah.
That's good.
No, because I originally said I couldn't think of a name as to be determined.
Okay.
And I called her. then I called her Tibbet for a bit. Then I just switched it to Tips.
I thought you said tits, and that's kind of
No,
funny.
no,
like,
no, no,
Come here,
no.
tits.
No,
Oh,
her
but Tips is
original
good.
name was To Be Determined.
To be
And I just
determined.
shortened that down.
That's pretty good,
Yes.
actually. Yeah, I didn't. I just kept calling her, "Hey, dog, come here, dog." But she's adorable. She's super friendly. Doesn't bite. The only thing is she's extremely needy. So every time I leave, she's yelping and crying. So I last night I got up at 2 in the morning and I came out and I sat with her till she calmed down. Her little tail's wagging. She's going in circles, and she doesn't play catch because I bought her a little ball, right? So we bought a cage because we don't know if she's been dewormed, and I don't want to impact the cats in the house. So we're trying to rehome her, and if we can't find someone who would want to adopt this pet, we're going to adopt her. So we'll have to get her spayed. We'll have to get her shots and a deworming if it's required, and we'll welcome her in the home because she's a sweet little thing. We had a little harness. We walking her around, this little tiny dog. Her paws on the bottom are like scorched. The vet said because she was on the streets for a while and it's been hot here, so the poor thing's been walking on hot. Like when she walks. It's like it's a weird gait. Like it hurts her paws. So she's on the carpet there, and we bought a nice cage, and we bought these nice fluffy blankets, and bought her a new bowl, and I got dog food. She doesn't seem to like the hard stuff, so man, she'll have to get used to it. And I
Sorry, Faye says the audio is a bit too low for her.
is it on my end or the total end? I can turn it up.
For the tablet, I guess.
The tablet. All right, let me.
Yeah,
see
I'm just reading the YouTube comments.
Yeah. Let me see what I can do. Man, I already got all the gains up to the maximum. Let me try Streamlabs. All right, I guess I gotta hit the yellow. Now we're hitting the red. All right, let me know if that's good, Faye. Anyways, so yeah, that's my story of my my new dog, and I think she's gonna be a part of the family. Not that I wanted a dog, man. I got 2 cats and fish everywhere. It's crazy. It's just gonna be
she's adorable. She really is.
Oh, you should see her, man. Like when she looks at you, and I gotta say, when I walk her around, I get a lot of compliments. I go, it's a cute little dog. I always, is it yours? But to the people that abandon her or person, you're an asshole. You're the worst of the worst. To me, just human garbage, because when a pet comes to you and expects you to look after him and stuff, and you do that to the pet, what do you do to other people, right? Anyways. So that's that. That's the story of my little dog. My daughter just walked by in the room. She's laughing. But yeah, the kids like her. Let's go right into the subject that we kind of pooched. Speaking of dogs, at the beginning, let's bring up the. You got the share features.
Actually, could we start with the BitChute video just to lead into it?
Oh yeah, sure. Give me a sec.
For some context, this is when predictions go horribly, horribly wrong.
Yeah. Hold on, let's bring this up. Okay, here we go. Is there volume? Okay. Is there volume on this one?
Rocco's presentation, I don't know how to put it. It was just phenomenally great, and you had a lot of support. The courtroom was packed. There was people in the hallway waiting to get in and couldn't. And the support.
Pause this while I share the screen. I thought it was sharing. Yikes! Thought it was really positive. Like from what end?
It was absolutely amazing. I think Rocco's comment, when he was addressing their motion to strike and what Whitten had been saying about a whole bunch of lies and garbage, that your case had no merit and so on. And basically Rocco came up and said, only people who believe in a flat earth would believe what he was saying. And it got a great laugh out of the crowd, of course, with everybody there. And it was a great, just a great comeback, a great real comeback.
It's not a comeback, man. What's this guy talking about? It's irrelevant. There were a lot. I mean, now they're mocking the judge for actually giving them the ability to say, hey, based on what we've read and stuff, he's given them an opportunity to refile, right?
Yeah.
And then you're doing this shit. You're pulling this crap.
Well, in fairness, this is from, I think, the day after the hearing.
Is it?
To be like, yeah, but still, this is when predictions go horribly wrong.
Comeback. And Rocco was extremely witty. He was on the ball the whole time, and his response, further responses to Whitten and the other people, the other lawyers, was amazing. It was really, really good. He was able to attack them and respond on all avenues, and say this is what we were trying to do and what we are trying to do. And he also came back and said, listen, you're trying to call me a ringleader of the anti-vaxxers and conspiracy theorists. And he said, here's my credentials. I've had 2 Supreme Court, and I think 2 or more Supreme Court of Canada victories. All the other cases he's won, Judge Nadon, he got removed from the Supreme Court of Canada, and other judges he's helped remove.
This is not something that you should be proud of, removing people from the Supreme Court of Canada based on your own little political beliefs, right? That Naden thing, I completely disagreed with what happened. And then he says he's had others removed. Like, let's hear that again.
He tries some lower level ones as well. Some mixed success.
And other judges he's helped remove that shouldn't have been there. And he went on with his credentials, and he said, don't go making those accusations about me. I'm one of the most qualified people in Canada. And he's absolutely correct. So it was interesting that none of the lawyers had any response, not even a word, to when after Rocco was done, and the judge said to them, what do you have to say in response? Usually, in fact, almost always, there's a comment or two. Every one of them stood up and said, I have nothing to say. And I looked at that as very, very positive. Their primary claim that the claim file was too long, they may get some success on it and get it shortened down, but in the long run, big deal. It just gets reworded and it gets shortened, and the case will move on. In my opinion, they are not going to win on having it permanently struck. And as one of the lawyers said, there's going to be motion.
Can you stop there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, you're not going to win on having it struck. Let's get into that. And this guy, he knows better. I've actually met him. He knows better than to argue this nonsense.
Do you want me to replay, or are you bringing? Continue playing. Keep going.
So no, that's good. That's perfect. It segues perfectly.
Okay.
Can I share?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Okay. Is that showing up on your screen?
It is on mine. I'm just bringing it over for the folks to see it. Go ahead.
Well, anyhow, on Monday afternoon, there's finally a decision. In conclusion, the judge says, I find that the notices of civil claim in its current form is prolific, rambling, and long. It must be struck in its entirety. But the judge decided, I grant the plaintiff's liberty to amend the notice of civil claim, like rewrite it, and this action is stayed until then. And contrary to what this guy is saying, it's not just simply the length that's the issue. Like, there's so many things in there that should not be. The statement of claim is alleging criminal conduct. You cannot bring that into a civil court. A judge can't rule on that. They sought a declaration that the scientific community views masks are ineffective should prevail. It's not a declaration that measures brought by the World Health Organization are not related to a pandemic. The WHO isn't even a party to this. It seeks declarations related to the Nuremberg Code, the Helsinki Declaration, and a declaration that this is a crime against humanity under the Criminal Code. Seeks a declaration that mega corporations have benefited and small businesses are being put out of business. Seeks a declaration that all of this is not scientifically based in fraud. Really, the judge has no jurisdiction to hear any of that. The claim itself was 400 pages. It was, even to someone who's read a lot, like it was so disjointed, so scattered, it's impossible to follow. The judge says, yeah, you might have some valid claims, so I'm not throwing the case out completely, but you have to rewrite this.
Yeah, and I've gone through a bit of the filing. Like I said earlier, we had to replay this.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of the judge said, right? Like how we're not here to argue about all these different conspiracies or your science versus their science and stuff. Like you got to, and he mentioned in the document, he talked about redress. Like where's the harm? How do you want me to redress it? Right? Because it's I often mention the three pillars of government. One of them being providing mitigation between two opposing parties that have an issue with in a legal sense, right? So what's your redress?
Right.
How are we gonna give you the damages? And it's all over the place, right? It's all over the map.
Yes.
And there's discontinuity between like certain paragraphs on one page to another. So the judge, this is why I understand he took his time to go through this, and kudos to him. Is it a win? No. Is it a complete loss? No. They have to go back and really think about how they're going to put it together.
Yeah. The judge said basically, yeah, there are issues that may, potentially we can address, but you have to follow the rules of procedure and plead this properly. Like, go back and do it the way you should. The costs are going to be brutal. Tanya, apparently, if what my sources say are true, she hasn't committed to indemnifying or protecting the other plaintiffs, since they're presumably all jointly liable for this. 8 lawyers with this big a claim, I figure it could be well over $100,000 in costs.
Yeah, you want to jump down to the summary and conclusion?
Yeah, am I there on your screen?
Yep. Yeah, it says right there on the issue of costs.
Yeah, I note that each plaintiff is pursuing this action and seeking money damages from one or more defendant. In responding to those claims, each defendant has been put to the expense of answering, if not filing a response to the notice of civil claim. In addition, the defendants have all been required to prepare for and conduct this application. None of these steps would have been necessary if the matter was properly pleaded. And on this basis, I find it appropriate to award each defendant the costs for the necessary steps of defending a proceeding and for preparing for and attending an application that's opposed. These costs are payable forthwith in any event of the cause. So even if Action for Canada walks away, these people still have to pay the costs, which I said probably north of $100,000.
Yeah, I'm just trying to, while you were talking, look for the average hourly rate or per diem for a lawyer in Toronto or Ontario. It's like 200, like brand new lawyers, like a fresh out of school is about $211 per hour.
Well, I mean, I know Mark Whitten works for he represents the provincial defendants. He works for the justice system there, so I imagine since he's on salary, he charges considerably less, but it's still a lot considering how much work is involved.
That depends, right? Like if you're a lawyer in house, you know, you're still getting paid good money. I mean, a good lawyer, it says here, is around $500 per hour. The average cost of a 7-day trial is $80,000, 5 days 60, 2 days 30. But that's just like one lawyer, right?
Yeah.
So we have 8.
I mean, yeah. So Witten was, I believe, lead counsel overall. He also represented like the provincial defendants. The feds sent a couple people. The various health authorities sent someone. TransLink sent someone. I believe CBC sent someone as well. So we're talking a lot of lawyers.
Yeah, it's north of 100. I think it's probably in the realm of 2. But yeah, so is that coming out of the people's donations that went towards this lawsuit?
Yeah.
Is it?
Well, Tanya refuses to say. At least that's what I've been told. And my God, her response to this. And to anyone who doesn't know why this is a big deal, I got sued last year for $7 million. Due to the bulk of it was covering his various bogus anti-lockdown suits, publishing the fact that they're garbage. And lo and behold, we finally have a decision that says, yeah, it was garbage.
But are you allowed an opinion if you're a blogger? Like, these are just opinions. Yeah. And what I find really funny is that for what they preach about, free speech and being against government abuse, they act like the government. They don't want, they're very litigious, and they don't want anybody talking about their business or trying to open them up to be a little bit more transparent. And then what do? They're litigious about it. And they act like the government they supposedly say they're against, or government actions in that case.
Well, it wasn't just opinion for the particular piece from last August. There were specific references to the sections of BC civil procedure that weren't met, specifically Rules 3-1 and 3-7. And there's also a section related to 9-5, applications to strike. And that's exactly what the Attorney General used. So really, this outcome was predicted very accurately a year ago. The only difference is I expected the whole thing would be thrown out completely. This judge decided, no, we'll give you a chance to rewrite. That surprised me.
Now, if the donations, I have to laugh a little bit. If the costs are being awarded to the defendants, right, and the lawyers specifically, and it comes out of the donations, that's a oof moment, because those to the people who locked us down, right? That's a double whammy for me. And another note,
pretty much.
The idea of making the assumption that just getting into court over this is somewhat already like a how do they say it? Like a victory. It's a small victory, getting this into the court, presenting it to the judge. It's not a victory, right? Yeah. It's not.
Remember Eli Karp and Canadian Appliance Sources? That was December 2020.
Yeah, we both sat on that case.
Yeah. He got into court.
He had a bad lawyer though, right?
Well, Eli Karp was the lawyer.
Oh, sorry. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
That lawyer wasn't very good, right? He was fumbling through papers. It looked like he was going to win, and then I don't know how he botched it up, because the Crown attorney just kind of spun things around. I thought in that case they were going to win. And then remember, with the Hudson Bay Company went in as well, right?
Yeah, they put some real money into that, and they still lost.
And look, I understand this lawsuit is a lot bigger in scope, so you probably need a little bit more time. But time is something that was very sensitive in this aspect, because considering the vaccination rates and the lockdowns, obviously it was a time sensitive operation, and it's a little too late in my opinion.
Oh, correct. Oh, and Tanya, and I've mentioned in this as well, Tanya put out a response the other day. The plaintiffs are also likely to appeal the Judge Ross's decision because it contains blatant errors of laws with respect to what remedies can be sought of and granted by the court, which go to the jurisdictional issues and the standing of the plaintiffs. So essentially all the stuff about, trying to make criminal complaints in a civil court, trying to have the judge enforce international treaties. It's at least a threat. Yeah, we're going to go to the BC Court of Appeals to overturn this. That's not. I mean, you can file. Go ahead. It's not going to happen though.
So what would her reaction be then if they do take it to the Supreme Court and file against this judge's request and it gets shot down again?
Oh, if they go to the Court of Appeals? Well, realistically, I figure it'd probably take a year to get heard and get the ruling. So it'd be looking at next summer, and probably another $100,000 in costs when it's eventually thrown out.
Wow. Okay.
And I guess the other little thing is, if they do try to appeal, I can totally see the defendants cross appealing and trying to get that leave to amend taken out, essentially, so they can't rewrite it. I could see that happening. But
so they potentially it could work against them.
Oh yeah, very much. Now this could just be a threat. I don't know, but I don't see Rocco doing a rewrite. It would hurt his pride way too much. And the notice that Tanya put out goes on. Oops. For some reason, Canuck Law, the Western Standard, and Castanet are consistently working to put out the worst possible spin on the facts of Action for Canada's case and to disparage us. It appears they are on a mission to create doubt and distrust in the public's eye by providing twisted versions of the truth and claiming Action for Canada lacks integrity and transparency. Nothing could be further from the truth.
Sorry, I keep mentioning vaccine choice, but it's Action for Canada, right?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. No worries. I think, since you mentioned them, I think they're going to be taken out next. But yeah, apparently, according to Tanya, I'm a Trudeau agent.
Yeah, I mean, see, they're trying to tarnish. Like they claim that their image is being tarnished. Meanwhile, they're tarnishing their own image by making these wild claims as well. Because this is a wild claim. I mean, I think I've seen your work, and it's very good work. And you basically, CanLI is available for everyone. It's a resource that anybody can go and take a look. So there's nothing to hide there. Like if you're bringing up something and talking about it, well then take it up with CanLI. But when they make these wild claims, so where's their claim? Where is the evidence that you're an operative?
It's mentioned Western Standard. I think the reporter is Reed Small. I've talked to him a few times. He actually put out some pretty good articles on the subject. So, but Tanya doesn't like the fact that he writes, we have serious doubts about what's happening. And it ends with, we want your continued prayers and support. Support, of course, means give us money.
Oh, absolutely. It's going to cost them. I think they're going to have if these costs go to these lawyers, where is it coming from? The war chest. I'm assuming is from the donations, right? So they have to fill up that war chest.
I've heard at least three of the plaintiffs bailed before the decision came down. They're probably safe from the cost, but everyone who's left is pretty much screwed at this point because Tanya won't guarantee we'll cover you.
Well, isn't it supposed to come out of the war chest that they've collected?
In theory, but Tanya hasn't made that guarantee. And it's a very simple question. Will you protect them from skyrocketing costs? She won't say yes.
Well, that's a concern.
Yeah. And in case people don't know, court costs are not dischargeable in bankruptcy. So yeah, that was the little happy news, I guess, if you can call it that.
Well, I wouldn't call it happy news. I would call it very disappointing. Not in respect with them, but just that there may have been other opportunities for others to go into court and present this. I think a simpler filing. I'm no lawyer by any means, but I just see it as keep it simple, stupid. Yeah. So if you argued just on the lockdowns and the other mandates and its impacts, and we're very specific of the kind of damages that were happening, even on a case by case basis, let's just say a couple of people, rather than on the whole, that would have set precedent, right? Am I wrong?
No, that could have really gone somewhere. If it were short, to the point, and done properly, it would have survived the application of strike. But what David and Tanya were saying in that video we showed earlier, it's they're flat out lying to their donors. This never had a chance. It never did.
Well, they're claiming that they're gonna either file it in the Supreme Court there to continue with the filing. I don't know. Like, what's their next steps? What's their best next steps in this case? Rewrite?
Well, if they were serious, they'd do a complete rewrite. I don't see that happening because it's a pride issue. There's a possibility that Rocco and what's his name, Lawrence Wong, they just walk away. That could happen. Or they can appeal it. Those are essentially their options.
If they refiled, would it be about the same period as that it's taken to get to this place right now, which is they've gone to court, and the judges made their assessment? So that was about 2 years. They filed when? July 2019?
No. This one was August 2021, so it took about a year.
Okay.
This one I expect will go faster because everyone already has lawyers and they presumably be more speedier.
Mm-hmm.
This I suspect in the 6 to 8 month range or less. But again, it would have to be a decent filing because typically if you're amending your pleadings, you get one chance to fix it. After that, you have to ask for permission. If it's refiled and it's still garbage, the judge will probably say, okay, you've had your chance. It's struck without leave this time.
What about the filing from 2019? Or is it 2020?
Oh, Vaccine Choice Canada has a couple of theirs. Those are actually sitting in limbo. If you want, I could talk very briefly on the Vaccine Choice one.
Oh, I lost you for a bit. I don't know if I'm having network issues. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, let's... So what's happening with the Vaccine Choice one?
1 second. I'll pull that up. There's a few different ones. Well, Vaccine Choice actually has two. There's 2019 and 2020.
Yeah, there was one in July 2019, right?
There's October 2019. That was simply about vaccines and classes. July 2020 was the huge one.
Okay.
And this one I think will be targeted next because the Ontario people, they now have the Action for Canada ruling to use as a precedent.
Mm-hmm.
So I imagine they do a motion to strike based on essentially the same grounds.
But is it the same length of the document?
It's half the length, it's 200 pages, but all of the other problems are still there.
Okay.
Ranting about non-parties, demanding Nuremberg and all that stuff. Saying we want a declaration of criminal responsibilities. Like a civil court can't do that in Ontario either. So this is going to be thrown out, I think. The police on guard case, that's been, I think, 16 months since it was filed. Nothing. The masks in school, that application's been sitting for 16 months. Vaccine Choice's other case, it was filed 3 years ago. Nothing since, I think, February 2020. All of these cases are just sitting there, at least the Ontario ones. People donate in good faith, and guys, you're getting ripped off.
Yeah, I think that these types of large challenges normally will take a longer time. But back to my earlier point is that, like the Great Appliance Center, if they had won that case, which was just simply, if people don't know about it, they were arguing they should be allowed to stay open to sell their goods, which is basically stoves, fridges, microwaves, all that sort of stuff. Because Home Depot was allowed to stay open because they were saying that Home Depot was selling necessities that were required by the society that they needed, right? So like you need stoves to cook your food, you need fridges to store your food. But the thing is that Home Depot was selling mostly hammers, wood, and nails. That's what they're known for. And they do have a small coverage of appliances, whereas the Great Super Center is all appliances. So they were forced to close. Meanwhile, Home Depot is allowed to stay open. So there's a huge disparity between like what the law says, but it's not being applied equally or fairly. So you have these two people who went to court over that one thing, which is allow us to stay open because you're saying that these goods that are required by society to prepare and cook food, store food, is a necessity, but you're discriminating against us.
Yeah.
And that would have been a win right from beginning, because that would have been the trickle, right? It may not have covered everything like all of the lockdowns, but that was 1 inch or one nail in the coffin to like continually erode those mandates through the courts, right?
Right.
Unfortunately, it wasn't successful because the lawyer was fumbling, and it just like he never appealed or anything like that.
He was bad.
He wasn't good. I mean, I don't know what happened. I think they had it almost at the beginning. I saw the judge kind of asking the same questions, like, why are you letting one store open who's known for hammers and nails and closing another one that sells solely those products that have been, classified as necessities. So that would have been one nail in the coffin, right? Just a very simple pleading, hey, these mandates are disparaging our business. It's not fair. And that then you would see a follow-up of legal suits. But because that failed, people didn't go through it. And I think this might have been a similar case, right? Like if they went and said the lockdowns are not fair, or these other mandates, right? These medical mandates are not fair because there's if they argued on that one principle and just, looked at it from a smaller case, and then they could have kind of snowballed it from there. Again, I don't know. I didn't study law or anything, but just talking from the sense of a philosophical point, it would have been better rather than bringing in Vigavi, Bill Gates, and Klaus Schwab, and WEF, and this is what the judge was saying. Like, I can't argue. Like, how am I supposed to argue for this? Like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Like, you're bringing me the sky, and you should be arguing from the city limit, not the sky. I don't have jurisdiction in the horizon level. I mean,
and the judge is right. It's like he has no authority over any of this.
Yeah, well, this would be a world court, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Like, suppose the judge said, like, okay, I find, the crimes against humanity were committed. The BC Attorney General would immediately appeal to the BC Court of Appeals, get that thrown out.
I think there's a severe lack of understanding of how the system works and how it's supposed to be leveraged against each level, right? I again, keep it simple, stupid. That should have been the approach from the get-go. Maybe they couldn't have. Maybe they couldn't have collected those huge amounts of monies and maybe Rocco's fees there. You know, like if I just go to Wikipedia, right? There's been a lot of stuff about him, right?
Yeah. Apparently, it's defamation to publish that his anti-lockdown stuff is garbage, even if you include the specific provisions of civil procedure that this doesn't comply with. Okay, well, this is a pretty sweet ruling, at least from my perspective. The donors are probably pissed.
Well, if he's upset about it, then why not take it up with Wikipedia?
Anyhow, that was the big thing I had. I guess you got your thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I kind of wanted to talk about, again, you know, I like talking about immigration because it's a huge issue. And it adds to the plethora of all the issues we have as a society, right? Whether it's the medical mandates, general mandates, where we're going, you know, in terms of like diversity. So we've talked about this, right? The Century Initiative is to bring 1 million people into the country. It's an insane amount of people. It's
only 1 million.
Well, they say 1 million, but in their heads, in their minds, they probably mean 5, right? They always downplay. You know how
you said 1 million. Are they trying to bump it to 100 million?
Well, I'm sure it's going to be more, right? I don't know. Do you even know how many people are in Canada as citizens? Are we really at 40 million?
I've tried getting an answer from Stats Canada. I haven't been able to.
Right. Are we really at 40 million or 45? I mean, I bet I can throw a ballpark figure there. Like, I think we're at 65. And I might not be too far off. It's nobody knows. I mean, generally speaking, if you look on Wikipedia, right? What does it tell us on Wikipedia? Let's see. Current population in Canada is 38 million. Can I believe that? No. I don't believe it for a minute. So there's been a lot of talk, and I'm just trying to find...
I have no idea how accurate that is.
I don't think it's accurate. I think it's a lot more. Look, they keep... And this is the thing. They keep talking about not enough housing. And, you know, Trudeau not too long ago also said that they're going to be building out more housing because, you know, there's a lack of... Well, why is there a lack of? If you just compare, I have to do the math, but if you were to look at our population growth, our birth rates, especially among whites, it's low. It's very low. So what's creating the uptake and requirements for building new homes? Well, it's the incoming people. So, I just want to try to find this video here, and then I'll play this for you. So, this is August 30th, not too long ago, from Global News. Can you see my screen? No?
No,
I'm not sure.
I can't.
Okay. All right. So, I'll just play this here. Cue it up. Again, this is Canada's real estate crisis. I've been hearing this a lot. You know, Doug Ford was saying, there's a crisis. We need more homes. And they are tearing up Ontario, left, right, center. He said he's going to take away that green belt, that area that was supposed to be left alone. And he's like, no, we got to dig it all up, flatten it out, concrete it out, build out condos in suburbia. And that's the funniest thing. Like, where are these so-called lefty climate guru, we need to protect the climate? You're covering the planet in pavement. If it's getting hot, it's your issue, because no one's talking about the population bringing everyone here.
Well, there's a story back in the 1980s that the Sierra Club used to be against immigration on this scale, but supposedly they're paid $100 million to drop it as a subject.
Really?
They've never brought it up since.
That would be epic if you could find that.
Oh, you can just Google it. It's all out there. I don't know if the story's actually true though.
All right, let me play this clip, and then we'll go from there.
Announcing a major investment in affordable housing today for Canada. We know our country is facing a housing crisis. $2 billion the government hopes will eventually help to create close to 17,000 homes for families across Canada. Here's more from the PM.
Through this fund, we will be investing to create 10,800 housing units, including 6,000 affordable units. We're also creating a stream under this fund for a new rent-to-own pilot. For a lot of renters.
Rent-to-own. Who is that being geared to? Sure, there's a lot of people renting, but who is really the highest number of renters? It's the immigrants, right? They're coming in, they rent first. The ones that are not like the affluent class, which is mostly Chinese, but then you have like the Indians and maybe some Middle Easterns. But the rest are like TFWs that work at your Tim Hortons or nurses. They're going to be renting.
Saving to buy a home is increasingly difficult. Through this new program, we'll work with housing providers to help families go from renting to owning their home.
For more, Paul Kershaw is standing by. He is a professor at the University of British Columbia, founder of Generation Squeeze, a great think tank that promotes well-being and fairness for all generations. Paul, thanks for your time today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me back.
Your reaction to these new initiatives here, what do you think it's going to mean?
Well, these are initiatives that were first described in the 2022 budget. So it's exciting to then see the government take a budget plan and start to put it into action. It remains really important that we have a national housing strategy and that we are continuing to have a government that prioritizes trying to tackle housing affordability. So that's the good news. I'm a little bit skeptical about the rent-to-own idea. I think it's a nice, it's kind of nice.
This guy's giving me very gay vibes. My gaydar off the charts with this guy. What about you, Canuck?
That's another vibe that I'll just leave at that.
Election language, but I don't think.
You wanted to say something?
Well, in terms of working with various housing companies, there's something that's not being mentioned: taxpayer subsidies.
Oh yeah, I'll bring it up again.
Yeah.
The old age homes, the Monshong and a couple of other ones. I keep bringing this up because the video was taken down, but there's a lot of taxpayer subsidies that are going to build old folks' homes for the Chinese specifically. So we're going to be taking care of their elderly because China can't. They just can't. There's too many of them. They have the same kind of demographic curve we do, right? They have a very big aging population. So they're onshoring their elderly onto us, and we're paying for it.
Well, they should just promote medical assistance in death like we are.
I doubt that applies to them, though.
Of course.
But again, remember from CIC, which is the Canadian Immigration Congress, the main leader for that, or what do I call it? Not a leader. God, I'm sorry, folks. I'm just extremely tired from the dog and everything. But Karim Al Assal, right? He is the main proponent behind CIC, and he was saying in a conference to the government about 1 million in waiting to get into the country. That's who this rush is for. So I'll play this in a sec, but let me just show you an older article. This one is from 2021 when everyone was locked down, right? Nobody could go out. Scary bug out in the open. Ontario needs to add 1 million new homes over the next decade to keep up with population growth. But our if you look at our replacement value, it's very low. And like I said, I haven't done the math. I haven't sat there and crunched numbers, but I don't think it adds up. This is how would I call it? This is the same bullshit with the TTC, right? The Toronto Transit Commission. They're trying to build new lines, update old cars. It's never enough because
about your article, it says 1 million new homes. No, that's not a waiting list of 1 million people. That's 1 million homes.
Yeah.
If you've got 3 to 6 people in a home,
right,
on average, that's 3 to 6 million people, presumably.
Yeah. But that's there are articles lately like this over the past few weeks. And the reason I think they're bringing this up, and I just to finish off with the TTC, they're never making enough lines or updates to the system because they can't keep up with it. So if planning sits there and they say, hey, we need to build 2 lines this year because there's an overcapacity. You can't calculate the capacity with the incoming influx of people into the city because it's just a catch-up because they weren't building for capacity for the past 20 to 30 years. But they only have enough capital expenditures to build enough at the previous existing capacities. So it's always a catch-up game. And like I keep saying, we should close the taps on immigration and, put ourselves in good shape. But we can't, right? Because guess what? Guess what our main commodity is? It's not aluminum and oil and all of that. It's people. That's our main commodity. And real estate. And guess what? Mortgages. So it says here, it will be monumental challenge to build this much housing, said report director of policy for the Smart Prosperity Institute. There's another one, a think tank in Ottawa. He estimates in a typical year about 70,000 units of all types are added, from detached houses to condominiums, to purpose-built rentals to subsidized units. I'm telling you, where I live, they're ripping everything up. All the farmland is now ripped up. There's like it's funny because you'll see the one farmer, which I'm guessing just said, no, I don't want to sell, man. He's got an apple orchard, right? He's got about maybe 2 or 5 hectares. And on either end, you just see these giant, massive bulldozers that just bulldozed everything. And they're going to be building around him. And eventually he'll have to sell, right? Because what's he going to do? Like, how is he going to farm when you have these subdivisions and Home Depots and Costco's and all of that shit? And I'm telling you, they're also putting these buildings from this picture any corner block they can. It's insane. I don't think we even have the fresh water to be able to poop in and then drink out of. I don't think we have that sort of capacity there. And there was like something they were talking about the other day is the pipelines in Toronto specifically are so old, they're crumbling, and they don't know what to do with the infrastructure. It'll be a massive undertaking to fix and bring up to speed all of that pipeline infrastructure under the city, because it's super old. It was built in the 1950s. So why we continue to bring people in We know the infrastructure can't support it. Where are all the climate people? You're building, you're taking concrete to its maximum surface level footprint, and no one says anything about it because they're controlling.
But they ban plastic straws, so it balances out.
Okay, I'm gonna show you guys something here. I don't think we need to continue with the video, right? It just it gives the gist of it, right? All right, I'm gonna go to, let's see. I'm gonna bring this here. All right, so a couple of things. There are companies south of the border that are managing the whole ESG framework. Let me just bring up this little diagram here. So I put this together, just going to give you an idea of how it all functions. So you have governments, think tanks, that's your, like your IDU, the WEF, CFR, Trilateral, Atlantic Council, etc., etc. We just read one on the Star, right? There's so many of them. And then we have our NGOs, our nonprofits, and our charities, United Nations corporations, and our gatekeepers, right? So these are those pundits, right? Left, right, Fox News, CNN. And then you had on the smaller side, the ultra magas and the Black Lives Matter, those type. So how do they all work together? So the corporations through BlackRock and big banks and some other like telcos and other corporations, they work through ESGs, right, which is environment, social governance. And so BlackRock will guarantee security around ESGs, so the companies always strive to work with that. We know that BlackRock also works with WEF and probably Atlantic Council and all the others. I don't know, but I know I'm pretty sure for the WEF. And then the United Nations works on the SDGs, which is the Sustainable Development Goals, which really on the surface, if you think about it, it works, right? Because of course we want sustainable development. We don't want to destroy the environment. We want to ensure that the environment lasts for us because it's our bread and butter. But that's not the case because as we see, it's all bullshit, right? It's all about diversity, flooding the West with immigrants, completely destabilizing the system, and more top-down control through digital identification and other variables. Then, so what these guys do is you'll see the United Nations sets out the directives for the SDG ESGs that are done between the corporations and United Nations, so SDGs and ESGs, because they're in cahoots, right? They're in between. You have WEF, IDU. They all work through United Nations, and then they work through the corporations. So they're building on their ESG, SDG directives, which then flows through the NGOs and NPOs and the charities, which then is the liaison between the governments and this group here, and they're doing the reporting, which then flows back to United Nations, and then the directives are reset, analyzed, mitigations and risks are done accordingly and given new directives. Then you have these guys here, like between the corporations and these gatekeepers, they're doing the comms. They're setting out the narratives, right? They're getting their paperwork. Like if you remember that video, the collage of all the different news sources, and they're all saying the same thing. Well,
yeah, I've seen a few versions of that.
Yeah, that's your comms, right? Between the corporations and these left-right pundits, the grifters, the gatekeeper, the Gavin McGinnises, and Alex Jones, those types of people. And then between the governments and these groups, They're doing the narrative mitigation. So if something starts to come out and gets leaked out, people do some discovery, they are there to mitigate it. So you see, this is the beautiful, wonderful trifecta of how this operation is functioning. Now, there are corporations outside of Canada that are working with our big, huge corporations. And they put these reports together. They put these ESG reports together. And basically, it's a fund. So, like if one fund does good for a smaller group, in some way it'll trickle down to the plebes who engage in some of these funds. But we know how trickle-down economics worked with Reagan, right? So you see here.
Yes.
They've outlined it. Engage directly with corporate executives, influence CFOs, CEOs as they make decisions for long-term growth. Sovereign and quasi-sovereign issuers engage with government officials to promote sustainable futures. You people, us, all of us, should not be voting anymore. We really shouldn't.
We have to deal with sustainable development and all that. And meanwhile, we have open borders policies which make it increasingly impossible to do.
But that, and that these people are just gaining 100% influence. Because as I shown through that graph, how it all functions, you're not voting for a representative anymore. You're just voting for a puppet. It doesn't matter if your candidate says, hey, all the good things, and let's say they're absolutely genuine. They're a real person. But the system's not designed that way. So it's either going to churn and burn them out, or they're just going to go, well, in order for me to play along, I got to get along. And eventually they become part of the system, right? And then you could see, encourage sustainable bond issuance for specific projects, push improved ESG disclosures, shape industry regulatory standards. Peer assessment, evaluate the ESG profile of issuers and relative to peers from leading in practice to significant concerns. Trend analysis, incorporate a forward-looking assessment indicating whether the issuer is displaying an improving and stable deteriorating ESG trend. And you can show here global atmospheric carbon dioxide and mean surface area temperature change. But where do they pull this from? U.S. National
Essentially using ESG as...
Sorry?
Well, I think it was like almost 3 years ago we covered Mark Carney getting his new outpost at the UN on the climate, whatever it was, climate finance.
Yeah.
And essentially his role, and he quite openly makes a threat. You either play ball or you'll go out of business. Play ball with this.
Yeah. So where's the politicians? To angry Albertans' point the other day in his channel there, he says, where's the outcry from all of these politicians? Not a single one. Not a single one. Play ball. People should just really stop voting. When a politician comes, did you see the other day when Trudeau was addressing the public? I think it was Global News or everybody covered him. But he was saying that, what happened to Christia the other day, and I think that was an op, right? Because why would you do that, right? Why when you talk to Miss Christia, I have a question for you. Would you mind answering it? Boom, gonzo journalism, right? But why would you do that? Why would you behave like that? I know the anger is there, but it doesn't help. They just spin that around against us. And look what he's saying. Oh, the abuse and you can't treat politicians. You can't treat motherfucker. Excuse my language, but you're in the service of the public, right?
You coerce us into getting experimental shots in order to keep your livelihood. Don't talk to us about abuse.
Exactly. But So they're not. They don't like us. They they don't care about us. They never will. So I just, for once, I'd like to see like no effort going into the polls. Oh, you guys vote for us. No one shows up. Everybody has a barbecue, spends time with their family and their friends, and just enjoys the day, right?
Well, wasn't the last election in Ontario when Ford got back in? Wasn't there something like 41 or 42% turnout? Something really low.
It's low, but there's still a turnout. People still turning out. Like, what is there something in the law? I have a question. I've always asked this question. Is there something in the law that says if no one turns out to vote, do you stay in power?
I have no idea.
Like, what's the approach to that? Let's just give a little bit of a, if no one comes out to vote, do you have the mandate by the people to stay in power? Or do you say, oh shit, no one came out. They obviously don't like us, so we'll just leave. I guarantee you it's the former rather than the latter. And to me, from a legal perspective, that's wrong. Because if no one comes out to vote, that's a big, huge cry. The people don't want you. Or they're just fed up with government. Anyway, getting back to this. So this is all based on false information. You can't be transparent and challenge this data with other scientific data. So they pull it from NASA, right? In my time, I've heard about the ozone hole. I've heard about global warming. I get on my phone every morning and I get these alerts saying there's an asteroid near hit Earth. Like, it's just always fear. Anyway, just here with the impact already felt. They talk about ocean acidification. Someone from my channel from Australia said that the coral reefs are fine. Oh, I don't know about that. Climate change threatens peatland ecosystems. 2,500 excess deaths associated with heat waves and wildfires. 2,500? That's kind of normal. When I was young, there were a lot of older people that had passed on because of heat waves. So that's not a lot. That's not something to lose your mind over. Wildfires, yeah, if you're in a wildfire, you're in the way. How many firefighters in those wildfires will die in doing their job?
Well, I know in BC they said, oh, panic, we have 300 pandemic deaths in the year 2020. Meanwhile, we had nearly 2,000 fentanyl and overdose deaths. But, perspective.
The sea level is rising due to ocean warming and land-based ice melting reaching its highest recorded value in 2019. But then why are all these elites buying beachfront properties? Just asking, bro. And of course, this data is sourced from the World Meteorological Organization statement on the state of global climate 2019. 35 million people affected by floods. Yeah, if you live in the Philippines, it's an island. Of course, like you have a bad hurricane, right? Like it'll wash out most of your island. I mean, that's what happened in Haiti. They had a hurricane, they had a earthquake. I mean, Japan sits on a fault line.
Well, New Orleans is built below sea level. That was pretty stupid.
Well, there you go. Really? Anyway, so they give here about their green bonds, the kind of yields that they're going to have. And then they talk about stuff like recognition on climate change is a significant issue, develop a policy, set greenhouse gas emissions reductions targets. we're all suffering through this. They really want, like, they're just going to make a ton of money on this. This is their reset, right? Because they've kicked this financial can down the road with this printing of money and loans and mortgages. Here's an interesting graphic, and I kind of wanted to focus on this. Have you seen this before? Yeah, Ford's a libtard, but they're all the same, Faye. They're not even voted new blue. Canuck, have you seen this before? I'm assuming no.
Oh, sorry, I was muted.
Yeah, okay.
What? I've seen not that specific one, but I've seen similar types of things.
So these guys are actually taking metrics on stuff like this. Generational mindsets are changing. So who's willing to sign up a petition for climate change, or volunteer, or get a candidate who's pushing climate change, or even donating money? And they broke it down. Excuse me. They broke it down by millennial or younger, Gen X, baby boomer. What's pretty interesting to note, the donating of money, the boomers are less likely to donate money, but meanwhile they hold the greater amount of wealth, right? I just found that funny. Gen X and millennials are the most apt to donate, with 41% with the millennials, to climate change.
Yeah, but as the older generations die off and like the newer ones come up, that percentages will overall increase, which is what they want.
Yep.
Eventually, you'll have over 50% across the board.
Mm-hmm. So, and that's kind of what I want to cover on that piece. Another thing that I wanted to cover is this sort of weird push for diversity. And again, it's related to immigration. So let me move this over, and I'll bring this article over. How to get 1.5 million desperately needed homes built in Ontario. And these are constant, right? Again, I can't afford these homes. Can you?
No.
Sports research focused on race, gender, and diversity. Community-based research is critical to better understanding the causes and persistence of systemic racism. What are they talking about? They keep bringing this systemic racism. I don't see it. By who? To whom? Where is it? If we're so diversified, what are they talking about?
Or if these same issues keep coming up, it's almost as if forced diversity leads to more racism issues when very different groups get together. I'm just throwing it out there.
Look, I will say this. The Chinese are moving out of this community as the Indians move in. They do not want to live amongst each other. The thing is, there is no diversity here. We just tolerated each other. As long as the numbers are kind of on an equal side, everybody's tolerating. Once the numbers start to gain in one in-group and they start to get influence in the government corridors or educational corridors or any of the other ones, then you'll start to see a shift. Then you'll start to see conflict. Let me just continue on. That's why the government of Canada supports research focused on the lived experiences of people from underrepresented and disadvantaged groups. I mean, it's sickening what our taxes are going to. You're paying for them to be to racialize our own society. They keep telling you have to treat everybody as equal, but you have to see them as different. These are two opposing ideologies. today,
point that out, you're a bigot.
Well, I guess I am then. Today, the Honorable Francis Philippe Champagne, Minister of Innovation and Science and Industry. Think about that for a moment. He's a Minister of Science. And the Honorable Jean-Yves Duclos, Minister of Health, are announcing an investment of, wait for it, 20 million to support 46 community-based, community-led research partnerships through the Race, Gender, and Diversity Initiative. I'm just going to bring this over again, and I want people to look at this. We are now talking about these guys. And the government is going to ask for the SDG ESG reporting, because the ESG reporting is on the social aspect, which is diversity, sexual equality, genders, right? Dugan's favorites.
Fuck that guy.
Anyway. And then they're getting the directives from the United Nations through the built reports on ESG SDGs by these two groups. So just keep that in mind. That's how that works, guys. That's how it works. You click on this. They opened it up for RFP. Duration is 3 years, and they're willing to give you a $450,000 endowment. Woo! Let's say, what do you say, Canuck? We get into this business?
Oh, hell yeah. None of this shoestring operation stuff anymore. I'm sick of running my outfit on like $500 a year.
So here's their application. I will put links.
Oh, self-identification. What's that?
You are required to complete the self-identification form in order to apply for the SSHRC funding. However, you may select prefer not to answer, which supports the granting agencies in monitoring the equity of their programs and strengthening equity, and diversity and inclusion (EDIs). Oh my God! Here we got it. We got a new acronym. Let's note that. Hold on a sec. Sorry, I was just getting an update. Hold on. Sorry, I was just getting some instructions for dog to check on her because she's been sleeping. Oh my God, here comes the cat. Give me a sec. Talk amongst yourselves.
Well, if anyone's looking for work or you have some extra time, feel free to bid on this. I mean, your tax dollars are paying for it anyway.
Sorry, I had to take care of the kitty in heat. She's looking for a boyfriend. Whew. Anyway.
Sorry, the deadline expire was November 15th, 2021. Okay, this is an older one. But application deadline.
We got to note this EDI. Equity, diversity, and inclusion. Let's see this self-identification. Okay. Anyway, so this is the document if you want to apply. What does it say here? Let me make this bigger. Hate, racism, and xenophobia are the current means by which hateful and racist discourses I just love this, including by organized hate groups online, are reproduced and gaining momentum in Canada. Where? Like, you mean sorry?
Which mechanisms perpetuate white privilege, and how can such privilege be challenged?
Yeah.
What privilege?
Hey, man, don't you own a home? Aren't you privileged to own a home? Hey, when are you taking a drive out in your nice new spanking Lamborghini SUV, which I've been seeing everywhere with all these different diverse groups driving?
And then look at gender discrimination. Which approaches are most effective towards removing economic, social, and social barriers for those facing gender discrimination, including the whole trans thing?
It's all there.
Yeah. I'm sure there's an effort in there somewhere to make abortion more accessible. Maybe euthanasia.
Hold on. Let's go to abortion. Maybe it's in here. Oh, it's not. Yeah, I mean, it is. So that's what we're paying NGOs who are working through the SDG, ESG, and now EDI directives from the United Nations, which no one voted for, by the way. So let's go back here. Sorry, my cats. Okay. So yeah, 20 million for that. And the initiative is led by the Social Sciences and Humanities Research Council and Canadian Institutes of Health Research. So
they're basically slush funds which dole out your tax dollars in the name of research.
Mm-hmm. Let's see here. We can go to full list of projects funded. So University of Toronto. Aren't they a charity?
They are.
They are?
Most hospitals are too as well.
Oh, yeah. Yep. That's true. So
I'd have to check.
Center of Addiction, 450,000. Title: Discrimination, Ableism, and Racism Hurt, but Inclusion Can Heal. Right.
Laurentian is a charity. Dalhousie is a charity.
White Buffalo Road Healing Lodge. That's a good amount to get. We're in the wrong game, man. Let's start an MPO or a charity.
Okay. Are we actually going to do anything, or are we just going to market ourselves?
Well, can we study grifters and how they do it, and then maybe we could become quite professional at it?
Well, we was studying grifters for a long time. You'd think we would have picked up enough that would be kind of natural.
Look at all the universities, man. This is shameful. Look, 449,000. You know, you have Catholic cross, even the churches. Like you could see, like it's all the rot. If you were to imagine rot like a root, it's in everything. Even
sorry, University of British Columbia. Fun fact about that one. One of its decent-sized donors is the BC Center for Disease Control Foundation. It's a separate charity, which is funded by drug companies.
And it's pushed by what I would deem as a foreigner. You let these people in, and then they work against you as fifth columnists. Building Asian diasporic community through emergent media. I'm wondering who these people are.
Winnipeg Regional Health Authority. I believe that's where the lockdown orders come from. There, that is also a registered charity.
Okay, I get it. Oh my God, we are in trouble. So I'll give you guys. I might, there's a Telegram channel if you guys want to go to. It's called Race to the Bottom. I put a lot of work there, and I also post some of Canucks stuff, and Andy posts in there as well. Something to note: I've been looking for work, right? Because my contract is over. I've been replaced by an Indian at a lot cheaper cost. So anyway, there was an incident where a recruiter called me. They're all Indian. All of them are Indian now. And there was this incident where she called me for a position, and I was talking to her, and I recorded the call. And I know how the industry works, but I started interviewing her essentially to understand her role in all of this and why there's so many Indians. To just summarize it, basically her statement was, I asked, how did you get this role? Like, how did you get into the role of as a recruiter, frontline recruiter? And she said, I shit you not, I was a temporary foreign worker. I came into Canada and I worked for this big company, and then they gave me permanent resident status. We are going to melt down as a society. We cannot function like this. In a fractionalized, there was a report done. It's in the Race to the so Canuck and I, we share our stories. Canuck has Canuck Law Returns. I have Race to the Bottom in Telegram, so please visit it. But I shared the report on fractionalization, and it was a professor from a series of professors and other university educators who put this report together on fractionalization. It doesn't function. They find the more fractionalized a society is, the less it's is able to generate wealth. Because you have all of these, hey, Silent Walk, how's it going? You have all of these elements that are working against you and pulling on each other, right? You have the Indians who are interested in their own thing, and you have the Sikhs who are interested in their own little interests, and you have the Chinese and they're all pulling on one another. Nothing's going to function like this. I mean, you're giving, these are taxpayers' money. 400, and by the way, if you think this kind of operation would be in play in India or China, what do you think, Canuck? You think they would be giving this kind of money for that kind of stuff over there?
Shut up, racist.
Yeah, sorry. Sometimes I lose myself. Yeah, and you see here, look at this. Imagining, we are paying artists and, painters. Yes, let me just say that, I was going to make this wonderful, inclusive little film with these, young people in it. Oh, it was a bit...
So, $150,000 a year, that works out too.
But yeah, it's a great grift. Look what they're getting. Artists, fucking painters.
That buys you lots of spray paint.
Michelangelo is probably rolling in his grave going, wait a minute, I could have gotten $446,000 to paint the mural above the church there. Moving well together to enhance Indigenous. What is all this stuff? So what do we do now?
In all fairness, I'm sure that at least some of these, nothing's going to happen. They're just going to use the money as a form of laundering, at least for some of it.
A lot of these people are getting the full amounts. McMaster University, Society of Obstetricians and Gynecologists. I'm sure there's diversity.
I did a piece on them last year. Their biggest donors, shocker, are also drug companies.
Yeah. Well,
and in fact, I think Pfizer is actually their top donor.
Yeah, how much of that is going back into the coffers of these pharmaceutical companies? Developing a Canadian consensus statement around gender-inclusive language. So are we going to say that now, is it trans men or trans women? I always get them mixed up. Are going to be allowed to go to female gynecologists?
I can't.
This is crazy. The Road to Economic Prosperity Committee. Again, I'm bringing up this little graphic, right? NGOs, directives, United Nations, getting it from corporations on their building on the reports. So, anyway. So, that's it. That's kind of what I wanted to cover. You know, immigration is going to be supporting this. Hold on, sorry. There's one more thing. Okay. I think I covered that. Sorry. Just wanted to get to this page here. This is their website. This is crazy. The Federal Anti-Racism Secretariat. This is what our tax dollars are paying to be racial to us, to discriminate.
But dude, diversities are strict because reasons.
Right. Just trying to bring up the website here. Here we go. So I can show you the full website. Blah, 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 blah. Here we go. Boom. This is an official Canadian Government of Canada website. Information and resources related to the Federal Anti-Racism Secretariat's work to combat systemic racism and racial discrimination as it helps the Government of Canada fulfill its goal of achieving full, diverse, inclusive, equitable society.
Equity basically means communism.
Look. Obtain data related to Asian communities in Canada. Like, I live in China basically right now. This was from Rastum Southwell, chief of the Black Business Initiative. The Diversity Employment Network will address the very high prevalence of unemployment, underemployment, low income, and poverty within the African Nova Scotian community.
I didn't know they had one.
Huh?
I didn't know they had one.
Yeah. Specifically, the challenges of accessing higher quality jobs. So, gimme. Did you earn it? And lack of diversity in most workplaces. There are so going to be destroying society, whether it's from an economic variable to immigration variable, which, you know, you further down trickle, it's racial diversity. From a sexual standpoint, family.
Tearing up all the nature.
Addressing COVID-19 needs in diverse communities. Oh, did you guys know that the House of Commons voted unanimously to officially designate August 1st as Emancipation Day?
The funny thing is, weren't we under lockdown when that happened?
That's a good point.
Sorry, I'm noticing things again. Stop.
Well, are you trying to say that they locked down the blacks on August 1st? Oy vey. Yeah. Slavery in Canada. Wait a sec. Hold on. Didn't we take a bunch of slaves from America? Weren't we part of the Underground Railroad?
Sorry, many have lost their lives as resistance fighters during long treks to slave ships. Wait a minute. Who owned the slave ships, I wonder?
Shh. Quiet! You're not supposed to mention it, okay?
Okay, I'm sorry.
Don't mention it. Anyway, so that's all I had to cover. Immigration is related to them pushing the diversity and division and fractionalization of our society. It also helps bring in new, fresh voters because they're giving them the gibs, they're giving them the freebies, they're allowing them a lot more than where they come from, right? And they're making them feel special through programs like this. So obviously, oh my God, they called me out. I'm going to vote for them. Shit like that. And then that's related to the medical mandate uptake, right? Because these people are more apt to uptake it because, oh, look, the government's looking out for us. We're bringing in what I'd like to call is knee benders, right? Bending the knee willingly to authoritative regimes. It's all related. Anyways, that's what I have for today. I will leave a link in the description. Do you have anything? I know you had one more thing.
What was it? Sorry, I think I closed the link, but yeah, I did have one other thing. It was Parliament. I mean, this is a couple of months old, but I think it's worth bringing up. I'll share it. Parliament actually released guidelines on euthanizing people who are mentally ill. Now, just for context, it doesn't mean that you have like some fatal disease or condition that you're going to die anyway. This is the guidelines for killing people specifically because of mental illness. Like that could be your only. And they released their interim report in June 2022. They don't really object to doing this. It's just, yeah, maybe we should have some safeguards. So the report, they recommend putting the standards together. They recommend establishing that the mental illness of the person you're going to kill is like irreversible. They don't really specify like what diseases there are, like what mental conditions. And the recommendations go on about how we should assess it, what steps should be taken to make sure the person knows what they're doing. But at the core, there's really no ideological objection. Maybe we shouldn't be killing people just because they have mental illness. So it's, oh, well, they have an issue. And I know when MAID was first brought in, I think it was in 2016. The claim was, oh, don't worry, it's only going to be people who are like on death's doorstep who are in great pain. It's not going to go any further. That's what they said with the original court challenge. It's just going to be people who are, doomed to die. Well, then, then we have Bill C-14 and then Bill C-7. It's like we keep pushing how willing we are to just kill people who don't need it. And it's disgusting. It really is. And CBC, I wish I had the article. I could probably pull it up. They did a piece, I think it was in 2017, 2018. Actually, just saying, yeah, we could save a lot of money by encouraging assisted suicide.
In 2017, on the way to work, I was it maybe 2016? I used to listen to a CBC morning radio talk show. They were talking about assisted suicide. On that talk show, they were discussing about a young man, his mid-20s. And he said he just felt utterly depressed and he wanted to end his life. And they were talking about maybe that should be allowed because he isn't technically an adult and he would be happy to end his lone life because he doesn't see a point to living to it. This is what they've been talking and discussing for a very long time. Yeah. It's sick. I was listening to this. I was thinking, wow, we're actually talking about this? But, I mean, it wouldn't be too far of a stretch because, I mean, just look at the medical mandates. Let's look at the abortion rates. Let's look at how they've been attacked. Look, I mean, not even that. Let's not even assist. They've been castrating people for this transsexual movement. In that way, they're also going to be kind of more geared toward this sort of thing.
Well, if you think about pretty much every modern social change in the last, I'd say 20 years, where there's the global homo stuff, the trans stuff, the abortion stuff, the euthanasia stuff, all of it's geared towards getting rid of people. It really is. sorry. In January 2017, it's estimated that 137 million can be saved. I think that's annual. If we start letting people get assisted suicide, that's disgusting.
Yeah, and that's the same thing about talking about shortening people's lives and keeping those pensions, which are unfunded liabilities, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty disgusting.
Yeah, and you mentioned the whole pension thing, yeah, because that in fact works as a Ponzi scheme, because the only way you can essentially top up your pensions with the funding structure they have is with an endless stream of new incomes, like namely new people.
Mm-hmm.
So it's geared to crash on purpose. But yeah, I believe with the report that was released in June, I think there's going to be, I believe, additional legislation brought in to make it so, yeah, assisted suicide is for mental illness alone. Whatever, knock yourself out. So that's pretty much all I had. I've been kind of sporadic with my research lately.
Hey, Maureen, how's it going? Maureen is a excellent researcher. I think there's going to be some topics in the future that we might cover, and I think that maybe doing this show once a month is a little bit better and easier for me to gather my thoughts and the research than trying to do this every week, because there's a lot of stuff to cover. But yeah, she does great work. So I just want to thank Maureen for just continuing to do great research, and kudos. But yeah, on this assisted suicide front, they've been upping the ante every year as it goes on. But how long will it be? If you remember, during the lockdowns in Germany, that's the period they introduced those pods.
Could make us like, yeah.
How long before we get those pods from Germany? You know, where you just sit in and then it just gases you and it liquefies you. I don't know if it liquefies you.
Was that like a Futurama thing a long time ago? Like, we put a quarter into the suicide booth.
Yeah, where Bender was in the booth and then Fry walks in. He doesn't know what it is because it's just a telephone booth.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the during the period of lockdowns, Germany was advertising these pods, and they're very comfortable, and you can just walk in on a day off, and you put your money in there, and you sign a contract. The thing closes down, and it just you hear the gas come in, and I don't know what they do with the the body. Is there like a little drop box that just goes into a crematorium, or do they liquefy?
Probably harvest the organs.
Oh,
dude,
yeah,
your body parts are worth so much.
Well, yeah, I mean, fuck, there's a Chinese market for that, right? So, yeah, like it's I don't know, like it's every time when you get into the thick of the news, you just take one deep breath and you think maybe this is the last one, but it isn't. So I want to thank everybody for coming. There's like 14 or 15 viewers. Obviously, Faye, thanks for coming. Silent Walk, Coach T-Mac. Who else did we have in the chat? We had Beth Martine. Sorry, Point Fire, as usual. Hey, bud. John. And Boingo was in here for a moment, and M. Memorino. So I'll try to keep this. I think we'll be okay leaving this one on YouTube, right? But do download it. I'll put it up on my BitChute. Also, it'll go up on Odyssey, and both
Odyssey, Rumble.
Yeah. I got to get a Rumble account. I hear Rumble's a good place to do streaming. They got a good crowd. It's they're apt to listening to these types of discussions. So maybe that's something that we could think about in the future. D-Live's dead.
I'm currently on suspension from YouTube for posting.
Are you?
Surprisingly, it's not what you think. It's actually copyright strikes this time.
Wow.
Because I did that parody thing on Mark Lipinski, like him talking about like locking anti-vaxxers up in concentration camps. I put a few clips of him together and posted it. He went nuts with the copyright strikes and nearly killed my channel.
Jesus Christ, these people. They're sad. You have to pity them.
I mean, I have to wait till my suspension and my strikes expire, but yeah.
Silent Walk says March of 2023 kids will be allowed to use doctor-assisted suicide. I'm not sure of the age, probably 12 or older. Yeah, I mean,
probably.
They'll probably liquefy them and turn them into Soylent Green too. Here you go, guys. Enjoy them with your bowl of breakfast bugs. Gross. Anyways, so guys, thanks for showing up. I hope there's a higher rewatch. Please like and subscribe. It does help the channel, and tell people about our work. Help us get to 1,000 subs so we can get a little bit. But I'm actually trying to see if someone can help me set up my Stream Deck. I've set it up before, and it's a tactical thing. It works sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't work. And I don't know if it's Streamlabs OBS or do I just need to go to OBS and use it from there. But everyone, thanks for coming. Grateful to you guys watching and anyone who's going to be watching the after show. And Godspeed, everyone. Take care, and we'll see you next time.
Oh, and sorry, one last thing. I want to thank tonight's sponsors, Toxica. It's a lighter one that has 20% less heavy metals. Ask your doctor if it's right for you.
Oh, I pushed the wrong key. Hold on. That one was this.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm playing with the Stream Deck. I'll get it into better tip-top shape.
Right.
Anyways, thanks everyone, and again, we'll see you maybe in a month's time. Oh no, we'll see you in a month's time. That's for sure, because I think once a month is good enough. I don't want to overload people and make them too depressed. Right? Ow! I got to go look after dog. My new pet.
Cute post some pictures.
I will post some pictures. Anyways, also do check out Canuck Law's books on Amazon. Did you want to mention that quickly?
Oh, yeah. There's 4 out. There's an immigration book, green banking, and 2 on our totally real pandemic. I'll put the links in. Everyone's. It's not exactly the most cheerful material, but what can you do?
What I say is, it's just like it's carrying information that if somebody asks you anything, you can always reference it because it's all well referenced and sourced. Also, check us out on Telegram, Canuck Law Returns, and Race to the Bottom. Okay, folks, see you. Thank you for coming. Ta-da.
Hi, everyone.